He woke up next to the chief's daughter. At dawn, 321 warriors waited for the wedding. Samuel, a young cowboy from the frontier town of Red Creek, lay beneath a canopy of worn blankets, his body aching from the long ride the day before. He had been traveling alone for days, crossing rough terrain, fording shallow rivers, and navigating paths that few dared to take. Every muscle in his body complained, but the sense of adventure had driven him forward, even when exhaustion threatened to stop him. As he slowly opened his eyes, the first thing he noticed was the warmth beside him. At first, he thought it was a trick of the morning sun, but then he realized he was not alone. A soft, rhythmic breathing filled the quiet room, and when he turned his head, he saw her, Yana, the chief's daughter. Her long, dark hair spread across the blanket, catching the light, and her eyes were closed, peaceful in sleep. Samuel froze, unsure whether to speak or move, feeling both alarmed and captivated at the same time. The events of the previous night returned in a hazy rush. The band of travelers had been caught in a sudden storm while crossing the river valley. Horses had panicked, the mud had turned to slick clay, and in the chaos, Samuel had lost track of his group. He remembered stumbling toward a small village, guided only by the faint glow of lanterns and the distant sound of voices. The villagers, part of Ayana's community, had welcomed him without hesitation. They had offered him food, warmth, and a place to rest, insisting that the storm would not pass until morning. Samuel had been hesitant at first. He had heard stories about the customs of the village, the strict rules, and the pride of the chief. Outsiders were often treated with caution. Yet there had been something in Ayana's presence that put him at ease, a quiet confidence, a gentle smile that seemed to speak without words, a sense of understanding that transcended language. He remembered her guiding him to a small room, insisting he rest while the storm raged outside. The warmth of the fire, the soft rustle of blankets, and the unexpected kindness of a stranger had lulled him into a deep sleep. Now, waking beside her, Samuel felt a surge of panic. He wanted to apologize, to explain, to make sure he was not overstepping boundaries that he barely understood. But Ayana's eyes slowly opened, meeting his with a calm that immediately softened his nerves. She did not seem upset, nor did she appear embarrassed. Instead, she gave him a small, knowing smile as if she had anticipated his confusion and fear. "Good morning," she said softly, her voice like the gentle hum of the wind through the trees. "The storm has passed. You are safe." Words felt inadequate, and he did not want to offend her with clumsy speech. He could only offer a quiet, grateful smile in return. The room was simple but comfortable, with hand-woven rugs on the floor, walls decorated with carvings of animals and patterns, and the faint smell of herbs that seemed to linger in the air. It was unlike anything he had seen in his own town, a place full of rigid buildings and dusty streets. Here, there was life, movement, and an undeniable connection to the land that surrounded them. Yana sat up, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. She gestured for Samuel to follow her, and though he hesitated for a moment, he eventually rose, feeling the stiffness in his legs as he moved. They stepped outside into the morning light, and the village revealed itself in full. Small dwellings made of wood and stone clustered together, smoke rising from chimneys, and the distant sound of laughter and conversation filled the air. Children ran barefoot through the open spaces, playing simple games with sticks and stones, while elders tended to gardens and animals, moving with a quiet purpose. Samuel's eyes wandered across the scene, taking in the beauty and rhythm of life he had never experienced before. He noticed the attention to detail in everything, the careful arrangement of plants, the painted symbols on doors, and the way the villagers worked together seamlessly. It was a society built on respect, cooperation, and a deep understanding of nature's cycles. He felt both humbled and intrigued, realizing how little he truly knew about the world beyond his small town. Yana led him to a small stream where water ran clear over smooth stones. She handed him a wooden cup and gestured for him to drink. The water was cold, refreshing, and revitalizing. As he drank, he felt a strange sense of connection, not just to the land but to the people who had nurtured it, to the traditions that had been preserved for generations, and to the girl who had guided him here with unwavering calm. "Your journey was long," Iana said, watching him carefully. "You are far from home, and yet you carried yourself with courage. That is not unnoticed." But words felt inadequate, and he worried they would seem trivial compared to the world she inhabited. Before he could respond, the sound of drums echoed through the village. It was a slow, rhythmic beat, reverberating through the air and commanding attention. Villagers began to gather in the open space at the center of the village, forming a circle around the main fire pit. Samuel followed Ayana, curiosity mingling with a sense of nervous anticipation. He had learned that the drumbeat often signaled important events, gatherings, or ceremonies. His heart quickened as he realized that something significant was about to unfold. From the edge of the circle, the chief appeared, tall and imposing, with a calm authority that seemed to command respect without effort. His eyes were sharp, but there was warmth in the way he regarded his people. Iana stepped forward, standing beside her father with a grace that mirrored his strength. Samuel could see the pride in the chief's eyes as he looked at his daughter, a mixture of affection, expectation, and unspoken words. The chief spoke, his voice carrying across the gathered crowd. Though Samuel did not understand the language fully, he sensed the importance of his words, the weight of tradition and ceremony. Villagers responded with nods, gestures, and a rhythmic clapping that seemed to acknowledge the message. Iana translated carefully, her voice steady and clear, explaining that the chief wished to honor those who had shown courage and respect for their people. Samuel's pulse quickened. Was this about him? He had never sought recognition, yet here he was, standing in the presence of a community that had embraced him despite being an outsider. As the morning progressed, Samuel was introduced to the customs and rituals of the village. He learned to offer respect through gestures, to observe the ceremonies with quiet attentiveness, and to participate in the daily routines that sustained the community. With each interaction, he felt a growing bond with the people, a sense of belonging that he had never experienced before. Yana remained close, guiding him, explaining the significance of each action and answering his questions with patience. Their connection deepened, not through words alone, but through shared understanding, mutual respect, and a quiet, unspoken trust. By midday, the excitement in the village had grown. Whispers passed from one villager to another, curious glances cast towards Samuel and Ayana. The young cowboy began to realize that his presence had created a stir, an unexpected ripple in the daily rhythm of the community. He felt both anxious and honored, unsure of what the future held but eager to learn. Iana seemed to sense his thoughts, offering reassurance through a gentle smile and a reassuring touch on the arm. As the sun climbed higher, Samuel found himself seated by the fire, sharing a meal with Iana and her family. The food was simple but nourishing, made from ingredients cultivated with care and prepared with attention to flavor and tradition. He marveled at the way each dish told a story, reflecting the land, the people, and the history that had shaped them. Conversation flowed naturally, even with the language barrier, and Samuel found himself laughing, feeling a sense of warmth and connection he had not known in years. The hours passed quickly, and as the afternoon approached, the village prepared for a special announcement. Jana's father gathered the community once more, his presence commanding attention. Samuel felt a mix of anticipation and apprehension. He did not know what to expect, yet he could sense the importance of the moment. The chief spoke, his voice carrying authority and tradition, and the villagers responded with attentive silence. Ayana translated carefully, and Samuel listened, heart pounding, as the meaning became clear. The chief spoke of honor, respect, and the bonds that connect individuals to a community. He spoke of courage, kindness, and the importance of embracing those who show integrity and sincerity. Then, with deliberate calm, he turned to Samuel, acknowledging the journey that had brought him to their village, the challenges he had faced, and the respect he had shown. Samuel felt a rush of humility and pride, realizing that the chief had recognized not only his actions but the character behind them. By evening, the village was alive with anticipation. Drums echoed once more, signaling the start of preparations for an event that would define the coming days. Samuel and Ayanna moved through the bustling streets, observing the meticulous arrangements, the careful planning, and the shared excitement of the villagers. Every action, every detail, reflected a deep respect for tradition and the importance of community. Samuel could see how the people worked together seamlessly, united by a common purpose and a shared sense of pride. As night fell, the village was illuminated by the soft glow of fires and lanterns. Samuel stood beside Ayanna, gazing at the sky filled with stars. The moon cast a gentle light across the valley, creating a sense of magic and possibility. He felt a strange mixture of anticipation and uncertainty, aware that his life had taken an unexpected turn, yet eager to embrace the journey ahead. Yana remained close, her presence a constant source of calm and reassurance. Together, they watched the night unfold, knowing that the days to come would be filled with challenges, discoveries, and unexpected bonds. In that quiet moment, Samuel understood that he had arrived at a place where stories were written not just in words, but in actions, in traditions, and in the connections that bind people together. He felt a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose, and a growing admiration for the young woman who had guided him through the storm and into the heart of her world. The events of the coming days would test him, teach him, and ultimately shape the path of his life in ways he could not yet imagine. The morning air was filled with excitement and anticipation. Samuel awoke to the gentle warmth of the sun spilling through the small window, the scent of fresh herbs and earth greeting him once more. The events of the previous day, though vivid in his mind, seemed almost dreamlike now. The village had accepted him in a way he had never expected, and he felt both honored and anxious. He knew that the coming hours would change the rhythm of life here, not only for him but for the entire community. Jana appeared at the doorway, smiling warmly. "The preparations have begun," she said. "Today will be important. You must be ready to observe and learn." Samuel nodded, feeling the nervous energy building within him. He did not yet fully understand what the day would bring, but he trusted her guidance completely. Stepping outside, Samuel was immediately struck by the energy of the village. People moved with purpose, arranging tents, hanging colorful fabrics, and preparing food for the gathering that was soon to take place. Children ran about, their laughter ringing through the air, carrying small bundles of flowers or helping elders carry water and supplies. The sense of community was stronger than anything Samuel had ever experienced. Every movement, every action seemed purposeful, as if each villager understood the role they played in the larger story of their people. Jana led him toward the central square, where a large, flat area had been cleared for the ceremony. The ground was covered with fresh mats, and arrangements of flowers and decorative feathers lined the edges. Samuel watched in awe as the villagers worked together seamlessly, communicating with gestures, nods, and quiet words. It was a dance of coordination, a display of unity and pride that left him feeling both impressed and humbled. As the sun climbed higher, drums began to beat, steady and rhythmic, signaling that the event was about to begin. Villagers gathered around the square, forming concentric circles, their eyes bright with anticipation. The chief stood at the center, a tall, commanding figure, his presence radiating authority and respect. Samuel could feel the weight of the moment pressing gently upon him. He had been an outsider, a visitor who had stumbled into their lives, yet he now understood that he was being included in something much larger than himself. Yana stood beside her father, her posture proud yet calm. She turned to Samuel, her eyes shining with reassurance. "Today is a day of celebration," she said softly. "You will witness the strength and tradition of our people." Observe carefully and remember what you see." Samuel nodded, trying to steady his nerves. He was aware that every detail, every gesture, and every expression held meaning, and he wanted to honor the trust the villagers had placed in him. The ceremony began with the elders stepping forward, their movements deliberate and graceful. They carried symbols of the tribe's history, carved wooden staffs, painted masks, and sacred stones that had been passed down for generations. Samuel watched as each elder performed a series of gestures, their actions precise and full of meaning. He could feel the connection to the past, the weight of tradition, and the pride of a community that had preserved its identity through countless generations. Iana's father then spoke, his voice strong and steady. Samuel could not understand every word, but the rhythm and tone conveyed a sense of solemnity and honor. Villagers responded with nods, chants, and hand gestures, acknowledging the importance of the message. Iana translated in a calm, clear voice, explaining that the chief was honoring the bravery, integrity, and respect shown by all present, especially those who had faced challenges with courage. Samuel felt a rush of humility. He realized that the chief's acknowledgement extended to him, recognizing not just his actions but the respect he had shown for their customs and people. As the ceremony continued, Samuel was guided through a series of introductions. Villagers came forward one by one, offering greetings, sharing small gifts, and welcoming him into the fold. He was touched by their warmth and openness. Though he was an outsider, he could feel that he was becoming part of a larger story, woven into the fabric of a community that valued trust, respect, and shared purpose. Jana remained close, translating, guiding, and explaining, her presence a steady anchor in a sea of unfamiliar traditions. The afternoon brought a new energy to the village. Preparations for a grand celebration were underway, and the excitement was palpable. Samuel observed as villagers constructed temporary structures, arranged seating, and organized offerings. The sense of anticipation grew with each passing hour. The drums beat faster now, accompanied by the soft strumming of a handcrafted instrument, signaling that the main event was near. Samuel could feel the weight of expectation, the collective energy of a community preparing for something monumental. Iana led Samuel to a quiet spot at the edge of the square. "The chief wishes to honor you in a special way," she explained. "It is a gesture of trust and acceptance. You must be prepared." Samuel's heart raced. He had not expected to play a role in the ceremony beyond observation, yet he understood the significance of what she was saying. To be included in such a gesture was an honor he did not take lightly. Moments later, the chief called Samuel forward. The villagers formed a path, their eyes filled with curiosity and warmth. Samuel moved carefully, aware of the significance of each step. The chief placed a hand on his shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of respect, and Samuel felt a surge of gratitude. Jana stood beside him, her presence reassuring, and he realized that he was no longer merely a visitor. He was being recognized as someone who belonged, even if only for this moment. The ceremony then shifted focus. The chief spoke of the importance of alliances, trust, and unity within the community. Samuel could sense that the narrative was leading to something greater, a culmination of tradition and expectation. Villagers responded with chants and gestures, affirming their commitment to these values. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation, yet calm with the steady rhythm of custom. Samuel absorbed every detail, understanding that this day would be remembered for years to come. As the afternoon wore on, preparations for the evening celebration became the center of attention. Large fires were lit, casting a warm glow across the village. Tables were arranged with food and drink, carefully prepared according to tradition. Villagers moved with purpose, ensuring that every detail was perfect. Children ran about delivering flowers, while elders supervised the arrangements, offering guidance and corrections with gentle authority. Samuel observed it all, fascinated by the balance of order, tradition, and celebration. Jana guided him to a quiet corner, where she explained the next stage of the event. "Soon the warriors will arrive," she said. "They are the protectors of our people, and they honor the union that is to take place. You will see their strength and discipline, and you will understand the significance of their presence." Samuel's heart quickened. He had heard tales of the warriors, of their courage and dedication, but he had never imagined witnessing them firsthand. He felt both excitement and apprehension, knowing that this moment would leave a lasting impression. As the sun began its descent, the first sounds of movement were heard on the horizon. Dust rose in small clouds as a large group of riders approached the village. Samuel's eyes widened as he saw the disciplined formation of 321 warriors, each mounted on a sturdy horse, their movements synchronized, their faces focused and resolute. The sight was both breathtaking and intimidating. He felt the weight of history and tradition pressing upon him, understanding that these warriors were more than protectors. They were living symbols of the community's strength and unity. The warriors entered the village with precision, their arrival marked by a rhythmic chant that echoed through the valley. Villagers watched in awe, and Samuel could sense the collective pride in their presence. The chief acknowledged the warriors with a nod, and they responded in kind, a silent communication that spoke of loyalty, honor, and shared purpose. Iana stood beside Samuel, her hand resting lightly on his arm. He felt the warmth of her presence and the reassurance that, despite the grandeur and intensity of the moment, he was not alone. The warriors dismounted and formed a circle around the central square, their eyes scanning the gathered crowd. Samuel could feel the tension and anticipation in the air. This was a moment of significance, a culmination of tradition, trust, and preparation. Yana explained that the chief's daughter would soon participate in a symbolic ceremony, one that honored her role within the community and the bonds of loyalty, respect, and unity that defined their people. Samuel listened carefully, understanding that what he was about to witness was both sacred and profound. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the village in a golden glow, the ceremony began. The chief's daughter stepped forward, her movements deliberate, her expression serene. Samuel watched as the villagers and warriors alike responded to her presence with respect and admiration. Yana explained each gesture, each symbol, and each step, helping Samuel grasp the depth of meaning behind the actions. He felt a profound sense of humility and gratitude, recognizing the honor of being present for such an important tradition. By nightfall, the ceremony had reached its climax. Samuel felt a mixture of awe, respect, and wonder. He had witnessed the strength, discipline, and unity of a community bound by tradition, honor, and shared purpose. The chief acknowledged his presence once more, a subtle but meaningful gesture of acceptance. Yana's hand remained lightly on his arm, a reminder of the trust and connection that had grown between them over the past days. As the village settled into the evening, fires glowing warmly and the stars shining overhead, Samuel understood that his journey had taken him far beyond the physical miles he had traveled. He had crossed into a world rich with history, culture, and meaning. He had witnessed courage, unity, and the bonds that connect individuals to a community. And he had begun to understand that his place in this story, though small, mattered in ways he could never have anticipated. The night settled over the village, but sleep seemed distant for Samuel. The memories of the warriors, the rhythmic drumbeats, and the disciplined chants lingered in his mind. He sat beside the fire with Ayana, watching the flames dance, their reflections flickering in her dark eyes. The village had quieted, but an air of anticipation remained. Samuel could feel it in every movement, the careful folding of blankets, the hushed whispers of villagers discussing the next day's events, and the solemn care with which the elders prepared the ceremonial space. Yana noticed his restlessness and offered a gentle smile. "Tomorrow is the day," she said softly. "The wedding ceremony is about to begin. It is an honor for our people, and it is a day to celebrate love, family, and tradition. You must rest if you are to witness it fully." Samuel nodded, grateful for her words, though his mind continued to race. He could hardly imagine how the day would unfold, yet he felt a strange excitement mixed with a deep respect for what was to come. He lay down on the soft blankets in the small room the villagers had prepared for him, but sleep did not come easily. Outside, the faint glow of lanterns illuminated the village pathways, and Samuel could hear the distant sounds of preparation: footsteps, soft laughter, the gentle clatter of utensils. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, the storm, the unexpected hospitality, and the connection he had formed with Ayanna. It was all surreal, yet profoundly real. For the first time in his life, he felt a sense of belonging beyond the borders of his small town. When dawn arrived, it came in a burst of colors that painted the valley in shades of gold and rose. Samuel rose quietly, careful not to disturb anyone, and stepped outside. The village was already alive with activity. Villagers moved with purpose, preparing decorations, arranging ceremonial items, and readying themselves for the important day ahead. Children ran about delivering flowers and small gifts, their laughter carrying through the crisp morning air. Elders directed the preparations with calm authority, their years of experience guiding every action. Samuel observed it all with awe, realizing that every gesture, no matter how small, held meaning. Ayanna met him near the central square, her expression composed and serene. She wore a simple but elegant dress, adorned with patterns and symbols that reflected her heritage. Samuel felt a sense of awe as he took in her appearance. She embodied the beauty, strength, and grace of her people. "The ceremony will begin soon," she said, her voice steady. "You must be ready to participate in your way by observing and showing respect." Samuel nodded, aware that his role was not to interfere but to honor the customs he barely understood. The villagers began to gather, forming circles around the ceremonial area. The warriors, 321 in total, lined the edges, their posture erect and disciplined. Their presence was commanding, yet not threatening. Samuel felt a mixture of admiration and humility. These were the protectors of the community, the embodiment of courage and loyalty. He watched as they moved with precise coordination, their eyes attentive to every detail, ready to support the traditions of the day. The chief stood at the center of the square, his tall frame radiating authority and calm strength. He raised his hand, and the crowd fell silent, the only sound the gentle rustle of leaves in the morning breeze. Samuel could feel the weight of the moment pressing gently upon him. Every eye was focused on the center, every gesture, every expression carried significance. He understood that he was witnessing something sacred, a celebration that had been preserved for generations and would continue long after today. Ayanna translated the chief's words with care. He spoke of family, community, and the importance of honoring love and commitment. He acknowledged the role of the warriors in protecting the people and ensuring that traditions remained strong. Then, with deliberate solemnity, he spoke of his daughter, Ayanna, and the role she would play in the ceremony. Samuel felt a wave of anticipation. He realized that this was not only a union of hearts, but also a reaffirmation of the values and bonds that held the community together. The ceremonial music began, a soft, melodic rhythm created by drums, flutes, and the strumming of stringed instruments. The villagers moved in harmony, their gestures synchronized, their eyes reflecting pride and reverence. Samuel watched intently, noting the precision of every action. Ayanna guided him through the steps, explaining the significance of each movement, each symbol, and each chant. He felt a growing respect for the depth and richness of the traditions he was witnessing. As the ceremony progressed, Ayanna's father approached her with a calm, steady presence. He offered his hand, and she accepted it with grace. Together, they moved through the ceremonial steps, guided by the rhythm of the music and the eyes of the community. Samuel observed, feeling a mixture of admiration and humility. The connection between father and daughter, the respect for tradition, and the seamless flow of the ceremony created a sense of harmony that was almost tangible. Suddenly, the sound of a horn echoed through the valley, signaling the arrival of guests from nearby villages. Samuel watched as more people gathered, their expressions a mix of curiosity and excitement. They formed a semicircle around the existing group, adding to the energy and significance of the event. The chief acknowledged them with a nod, and the villagers responded with gestures of welcome. Samuel felt a sense of awe at the scale of the gathering, understanding that this ceremony was not only a personal celebration, but a communal event that strengthened the bonds of all who were present. The next stage of the ceremony involved symbolic offerings. Yana and Samuel watched as elders brought forward carefully prepared items, fruits, grains, and handmade artifacts. Each item represented a blessing, a wish for prosperity, health, and happiness. Samuel was invited to observe closely, and Yana explained the meaning behind each offering. He felt a sense of reverence and humility, realizing that he was witnessing centuries of tradition, preserved and honored with care and dedication. As the sun climbed higher, the focus shifted to the warriors. They performed a series of movements, demonstrating their skill, discipline, and readiness. Samuel marveled at their precision, the synchronicity of their actions, and the pride evident in their eyes. Iana explained that the display was both a celebration of their strength and a reminder of their responsibility to protect the community. Samuel felt a deep respect for the warriors, recognizing that their role was not only physical but symbolic, representing the values and unity of the people. The ceremony continued with music, dance, and storytelling. Elders recited tales of past generations, recounting acts of bravery, wisdom, and community spirit. Samuel listened intently, captivated by the richness of the history being shared. He realized that these stories were more than entertainment. They were lessons, guiding principles, and a means of preserving identity and culture. Iana translated key points for him, ensuring that he could fully appreciate the depth and significance of each story. As afternoon turned to evening, preparations for the final stage of the ceremony began. The villagers arranged the central square for the union, ensuring that every detail was perfect. Samuel noticed the care with which each element was placed, the alignment of mats, the positioning of ceremonial objects, and the arrangement of flowers and symbols. The community worked together seamlessly, a testament to the strength of tradition and the bonds that connected them. Yana and Samuel moved to a quiet spot at the edge of the square. She explained that the final stage would involve a symbolic act of unity, demonstrating the strength of relationships, the importance of trust, and the commitment to shared values. Samuel felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Though he understood that his role was to observe, he could not help but feel the weight of being part of something so profound. The chief called the villagers to attention, and the final ceremony began. Yana's father led the symbolic act, joined by the elders and the warriors. Samuel watched, his heart pounding, as the ritual unfolded with deliberate grace and precision. Every movement, every gesture, and every chant carried meaning, weaving together a story of unity, respect, and love. Samuel felt a deep sense of connection to the moment, recognizing that he was witnessing a tradition that had endured for generations and would continue long after today. As night fell, the village glowed with the light of fires and lanterns. The ceremony had reached its conclusion, leaving a profound sense of fulfillment and celebration in the air. Villagers mingled, sharing food, laughter, and stories. Samuel felt a sense of belonging, a connection to the community, and admiration for the strength, discipline, and unity he had witnessed. Yana remained by his side, offering quiet reassurance and companionship, a reminder of the bond that had grown between them over the past days. By the time the moon rose high in the sky, casting a silver light over the village, Samuel understood that he had been part of something extraordinary. He had witnessed courage, tradition, and unity. He had observed the depth of human connection and the power of community. And as he sat beside Ayana, watching the villagers celebrate and honor their heritage, he knew that his journey had transformed him in ways he could never have anticipated. The night was filled with quiet reflection, laughter, and the warmth of shared experiences. Samuel realized that the events of the day would remain with him forever, a memory of beauty, respect, and connection. And as he drifted to sleep under the soft glow of lanterns and the watchful gaze of the stars, he felt a sense of anticipation for the days yet to come, knowing that the story of this community, of Ayana, and of the journey he had undertaken was far from over. The morning sun rose gently over the valley, casting a golden glow across the village. Samuel awoke with a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. Today was the day, the culmination of the ceremonies, the celebration that had been prepared with care and devotion for weeks. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of flowers, fresh earth, and the faint smoke from the morning fires. Villagers were already moving with purpose, their energy infectious, each step reflecting the pride and joy of the occasion. Yana met Samuel outside, her expression serene yet radiant. She wore a traditional dress adorned with intricate patterns, each symbol telling a story of her people's heritage. Samuel was captivated not only by her beauty, but also by the quiet strength she radiated. "The day has come," she said softly. "It is time for the final ceremony. You will see the culmination of tradition, honor, and community." Samuel nodded, feeling a sense of awe at being present for something so sacred. The village was alive with activity. Children ran about carrying flowers and small gifts, elders directed the arrangements with careful authority, and warriors prepared to line the ceremonial square once more. Samuel observed it all with fascination, noticing the seamless coordination among villagers. Every movement had meaning, every gesture reflected respect for tradition, and the people gathered for the celebration. The anticipation was palpable, filling the air with an energy that made Samuel's heart race. At the center of the village, the chief stood tall, a figure of calm authority. He raised his hand, signaling the villagers and warriors to gather. The 321 warriors formed their precise formation, their posture perfect, their faces showing focus and determination. Samuel felt a mixture of admiration and humility. These were not just protectors, they were symbols of unity, discipline, and the strength of the community. Their presence added a sense of gravity and importance to the day that Samuel could not ignore. Yana's father addressed the gathered villagers, his voice carrying across the square with clarity and command. Samuel listened closely, even though he did not understand every word. Through Ayana's careful translation, he learned that the chief spoke of unity, respect, and the sacred bond that was about to be celebrated. He honored the warriors for their dedication and the community for their unwavering support of tradition. Then he turned to Ayana, acknowledging her role not only as his daughter but as a symbol of continuity, honor, and grace within the village. The ceremony began with a series of dances performed by the villagers. Samuel watched in awe as each movement told a story of courage, of love, of unity. The rhythmic beat of drums guided the dancers, while soft melodies from flutes and stringed instruments added a layer of beauty to the performance. The elders guided the younger dancers, ensuring that every gesture was precise and meaningful. Samuel felt a deep respect for the dedication and discipline required to maintain such traditions, realizing that this was more than entertainment, it was a living history. Ayana guided Samuel to a place where he could observe closely. "Each movement, each step carries meaning," she explained. "You will understand more than words can express." Samuel nodded, his eyes fixed on the performers. He could see the pride in their expressions, the joy of participation, and the connection each dancer had to their ancestors. It was mesmerizing, a display of culture and heritage that transcended language. As the dances concluded, the focus shifted to the warriors. They performed a series of ceremonial movements, demonstrating their skill, discipline, and readiness. Samuel was captivated by their precision and unity. The 321 warriors moved as one, each action deliberate, each gesture full of meaning. Yana explained that these movements were both a celebration of their strength and a reaffirmation of their responsibility to protect the community. Samuel felt a profound respect for them, recognizing that their role was both symbolic and essential. The next stage of the ceremony involved symbolic offerings. Elders brought forward items carefully prepared to honor the union that was about to take place. Fruits, grains, and handmade artifacts were placed in designated spots, each representing blessings of prosperity, health, and happiness. Samuel observed closely, guided by Yana's explanations. He understood that each item, each gesture, carried layers of meaning passed down through generations. He felt honored to witness such a sacred tradition, appreciating the depth and care involved. As the afternoon sun reached its peak, villagers began the final preparations for the union. The ceremonial square was arranged with utmost care. Mats were aligned, flowers and symbols positioned with precision, and every element thoughtfully placed. Samuel noticed the meticulous attention to detail, reflecting the respect and reverence for the occasion. Yana remained at his side, her calm presence reassuring him amidst the growing excitement. Finally, the moment arrived. Yana stepped forward, moving gracefully to the center of the square. The chief guided her father to her side, and together they performed a series of symbolic gestures representing unity, respect, and the bonds that held the community together. Samuel watched, feeling the weight of history and tradition in every motion. He realized that this was more than a ceremony. It was a living expression of values, culture, and human connection. The warriors formed a protective circle around the square, their eyes vigilant yet respectful. The villagers gathered closer, their expressions a mixture of awe and reverence. Samuel felt a surge of admiration and humility, understanding that he was witnessing an event that would be remembered for generations. Yana's calm and steady presence guided him through each step, helping him appreciate the significance of the actions and symbols he observed. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the village, the chief made a final proclamation. Samuel listened as Ayana translated, learning that the chief was offering his blessing not only to his daughter but to the community as a whole. He spoke of unity, love, and the importance of preserving tradition while embracing the future. The villagers responded with chants and gestures, affirming their commitment to these values. Samuel felt a profound sense of belonging, recognizing that he had been included in something much larger than himself. The ceremony concluded with a communal celebration. Fires were lit, casting a warm glow across the village, and tables were filled with food prepared with care and tradition. Villagers shared laughter, stories, and songs, their voices blending in harmony with the sounds of nature. Samuel participated as he could, offering smiles, words of thanks, and gestures of respect. He felt a deep connection to the people around him, a sense of inclusion and acceptance he had never experienced before. Yana guided him to the edge of the celebration, where they could observe without interfering. "This is the heart of our community," she explained. "It is not just about today, it is about the values we honor, the bonds we protect, and the love we share." Samuel nodded, understanding that the day had been a lesson in humility, respect, and the power of human connection. He felt grateful for the trust and guidance she had shown him, realizing that the experience had changed him in ways he could never have anticipated. As night fell, the village glowed under the stars, the fires reflecting off the faces of joyful villagers. Samuel sat beside Ayana, taking in the beauty and serenity of the moment. The celebration continued, but he felt a quiet sense of reflection. He thought about his journey, the storm that had brought him here, the hospitality of the villagers, and the bond that had grown between him and Ayana. It was a journey of discovery, understanding, and connection that would stay with him forever. Eventually, the festivities began to wind down. Villagers returned to their homes, Children fell asleep with smiles on their faces, and the warriors maintained their watch with quiet pride. Samuel remained by the fire, sharing a few last moments of conversation with Ayanna. They spoke softly, reflecting on the day, the traditions, and the lessons learned. Samuel felt a deep appreciation for her guidance, patience, and friendship. He realized that the experience had given him a new perspective on life, culture, and human connection. Before retiring for the night, Samuel took a moment to walk through the village one last time. The lanterns glowed softly. The night air was filled with the gentle sounds of nature, and the scent of flowers lingered. He paused at the edge of the central square, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. From a lone traveler caught in a storm to a witness of one of the most remarkable ceremonies he had ever seen, his life had been profoundly changed. He felt gratitude, humility, and a quiet joy that warmed him from within. As he returned to the small room prepared for him, Samuel felt a sense of peace. The events of the past days had been extraordinary, filled with discovery, learning, and connection. He knew that the memories of the ceremony, the community, and Ayanna would remain with him for the rest of his life. The experience had shown him the beauty of tradition, the strength of unity, and the power of respect and understanding between people from different worlds. Before closing his eyes, Samuel took one last look out the window at the village bathed in moonlight. The fires had dimmed, the villagers rested, and the warriors stood watch. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for being part of this journey, even if only for a short time. The story of the village, of the chief's daughter, and of the 321 warriors would live on in his memory, a reminder of the extraordinary power of human connection, tradition, and trust. With a quiet smile, Samuel lay down, letting the peace of the village and the warmth of the day lull him into a restful sleep. He dreamed of the celebrations, the dances, the stories, and the bonds that had been forged. And in his heart, he knew that the journey he had taken, the storm, the unexpected hospitality, and the moments with Ayanna, had been more than a mere adventure. It had been a transformation, a lesson, and a story that would shape the rest of his life.